There you go, bud.
Thank you, Jason. I really appreciate that. I heard a couple of you, in starting with communication, if you haven't turned your phone on silent, I'm going to ask that you do that. Also, for those of you that get stressed and want to throw this at me, this is for you to squeeze, not to be thrown at me. Some of you might wonder why I give you the squeeze ball. The squeeze ball is there for a simple reason. It's a great way for me to introduce, take the stress off. I've been doing communication and speaking for many, many years. And yet my hands sweat. I don't really want to walk up here. And I really don't want to do this until I get up here. And then I see you. I see the people out here that are coming looking for whatever it is that I've learned over my life through all the mistakes I've made and what I can contribute to you. And that's a privilege and an honor. And with that, if you look at the sheet that was also there on the chair, mine tore. How appropriate that it tore at eye contact. If you look, there are 5 things on this sheet. We don't have a lot of time today, and usually I work with teams, with attorneys, is where I got my start, working with attorneys and teaching them how to listen. So I started with that, amazingly enough. If you look at that, there's no numbers on this. People say, which is the most important? They all are. What I'm going to do is give you a brief introduction to the 5 steps and give you a taste of what can be delivered in 5 minutes, 15 minutes like we have today, an hour, or an hour per, and I'm writing a book that I'm sure will take more than a couple of hours to read, just about these simple topics. How many of you know a little bit about listening? Well, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. How many of you know that you always listen twice as much as you talk? Very, very interesting phenomenon. And how important is listening? Listening, we have so many filters of life. Each of us has experiences, good ones, bad ones, fun ones, exciting ones. But watch what happens when I tell you a little bit about me and where you go. In other words, what you think the minute I tell you this. Friday, I get married for the 4th time.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And some of you, even though you may not admit it, went to, what about the first 3? Isn't he a communications guy? I'll give you a clue. My first wife called me when she was having problems with her second husband, and I coached her to stay with him. My second wife is one of my best friends, and a year ago this month, she and my former father-in-law were helping me plant plants in my yard. My third one, I'd known for 25 years. We were only married for 6 days, and she couldn't handle how much energy I had because she had the same amount of energy, and it was a little too fiery. And it's all okay. We're great friends, and the guy she's with now has a home business. He doesn't dance. He's mellow, and she comes home and plugs in and gets grounded. That's a little bit about me and why I talk about communication, my life. How many of you have done the phone exercise? To prove to you how powerful the phone exercise is, it's where you get a bunch of people standing next to each other. You give them a little slip of paper, and they read into the ear of the next person and go down the line. And they do it all quietly, ear to ear to ear to ear. I did an event where there were 400 people, and I asked for PhDs in the audience. And of course, they throw their hands up really fast. All 12 of them came down, and the 12 people said, for sure, we're going to get this. So I took my little piece of paper, showed it to the first guy. He said, yep, I got it. Taped it to the board. and had him do his thing. And there were men and women. When it went to the end, I said, here's a pen, and go and write it under there. And he wrote the sentence. I said, okay, now turn the piece of paper around and read it. How much of what was on the paper was on the board? 0. I had their attention the entire 6-hour seminar. It was amazing. The second thing on there is being present. What was the first thing I did when I came up here? I said what?
Turn your phone on silent.
Right. Why is that? Keep respect, thank you. Also keeping present. The interesting thing about it, when one phone rings, everybody that has a cell phone gets interrupted. Why? Oh, that's not my ring. Why did they turn it off? Blah, 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 blah. And the internal dialogue that happens is so disruptive. It's watching people's eyes roll is like watching the sea and the waves go this way. It's the first thing I do when I stand up on stage. Being present. It's the most powerful thing, the most honoring thing, the most important thing. Somebody's giving you or telling you a little bit about their life, to look them in the eyes, to keep your eyes from chin up. Chin up. It's a big deal, especially in today's world, because we all assess and judge. If you don't come and see me afterwards, I'll tell you how you do. If you want to check somebody out, do it before they come over and talk to you, then look from the floor up. Being present with somebody is the most important and greatest gift you can give somebody. Speaking. Amazing. The most powerful gift I have is not speaking. At the point that the last head came up and everybody was looking at me, that all happened with silence. How many of you use filler words like but, you know, all of those words? So, let me tell you a little bit about myself. Well, needle pulling thread. Do, re, mi, fa, so, needle pulling thread. Okay. Sorry, I'm old now. I forget. Oof. Don't let the not having hair fool you. Those words like but. The next time you hear somebody say but, consider everything they said right before that was a lie. It will actually shift how you speak, how you pause, how you listen, how you learn, and how you educate. It's the most fascinating thing on the planet. Body language. If I came up here and this, how warm and fuzzy do I look? Yet. Perfect. It is so interesting to see how people stand when they're talking with somebody. The fighters stand sideways, like they're ready to defend something, whether it's their opinion, their point of view, or their judgment. People cross their legs and cross their arms. If you want to cross your legs, cross them at the ankle. If you cross them any higher on the arms, it puts something between you and the other person. Being in another person's world, the last one. This is my favorite. When you get interested about another person, life alters. I once did an exercise, and I've done it multiple times, where there were 20 people standing in a line. 20 other people walked up and stood toe to toe, facing the other people. And for 5 minutes, silence. What do you think happened? I found out that the person over there, I've done it with females, males, young, old, the person over there is just like me. Is afraid of parts of the world, wondering if they look good, wondering if they are good enough. And when you get connected to that, life begins. Vulnerability allows you access to something incredible. And people today don't do it. They look at people, judge and assess, put boundaries up, borders up, ages up, life up. And we're always in a hurry. In 5 minutes, I knew the person across from me more than I know people that I've spent hours and hours and hours with. It's a miracle. At the very bottom here, I wrote why communication. And I want you to know a word. And I want you to leave with this word, other than the but. Intimacy. Into me you see. Remember that. If you want to have an intimate relationship with somebody, let them in. Let them get to know who you are, really. Thank you all for your time. Thank you for your listening. It's the most important gift that you could give me. I appreciate it. And remember this, communicating more with less.